Hey guys, Icy Cat here. Today Ubisoft has dropped the teaser trailer for the newest Italian operator, Maestro. So that's the trailer in its entirety. There's not a lot happening here. We're just sort of zooming in on him the whole time while he's kneeling there, but we can figure out a few things. So let's stop this for a second and take a look at what we've got. We essentially have what seems to be a confirmation of a pre-existing leak regarding his ability. Allegedly, his device is called the Evil Eye Turret, and apparently it's controlled through a remote interface. So it's unlike Tachanka's turret where he doesn't have to be standing on it. That would leave him vulnerable and exposed. This allows him to control it from a completely different position remotely. And that does seem to be exactly what is going on here. You can see he's looking at some kind of a screen there. That blue light is washing all across him when he's looking down at it as he waits for the right time to pick his moment and take his shot. And you can hear something interesting when he does. The shot that goes off does not sound like a traditional bullet. It actually sounds more similar to something like Twitch's taser dart. That is immediately followed by somebody crying out in pain as a result of that, and Maestro chuckles to himself, so he definitely has a sense of humor. Now, this video does not give us a lot of information about his gadget other than the remote side of it, but what does the device itself look like? Well, we get a look at this in this next image. This was released on the official Rainbow Six website. I will put the link for this down below the video player so you can check it out for yourself. He's just sitting here kneeling in the picture, but if you look down at his hand, it is on what appears to be the description for the device. According to the leak, it is a turret that is encased in an invulnerable shell. It cannot be destroyed when it's not in use. However, when it opens up to fire, then it becomes vulnerable to being destroyed at that point. So it looks like that black visor there may either flip up or down, something like that, and then when it takes its shot, it could be destroyed at that point, but as long as that visor is closed, it can't be. In fact, it's possible that it may just be able to be used as some kind of a defensive camera that can't be destroyed. So even when you're viewing it, it's indestructible, but it's only when you open it up to take that shot that you might be able to take it out. Now, that indestructibility is going to grant it some interesting uses, because you can actually place this outside of the objective and defend it from there. He can be inside the objective, or in fact anywhere in a map, but the device can be looking at the walls that would be vulnerable on the objective itself. So say you have a wall that has a string of reinforcement panels on it, and you want to protect it from being hit by Hibana or Thermite. Putting this gadget there will allow you to take those devices out anywhere within its range of fire. Pretty much anything an attacker could put on a wall can be taken out in this way. So things like a fused cluster charge or a traditional soft wall breaching charge, anything like that that an attacker can put up on the wall, they may be able to take out with this. Now, it sounds like you can do player damage as well, but if this does function like Twitch, that may not necessarily cause a lot of damage and would be something that wouldn't necessarily yield you a lot of kills. It may also be useful for doing certain things like stopping a plant of a bomb in a certain position if you pre-place it in a known area where they are going to tend to be putting that. So now let's read some of the info that's contained on the page. It says Maestro is a colorful addition to the Intel gameplay family. His expertise lies in blocking access to key locations, and his blunt style allows him to see through smoke and mirrors, for which he has no patience. He shines when joined by his longtime GIS teammate Alibi. It then goes on to talk a little bit about his background and some of the operations he was involved in, including one in Iraq, after which he wound up kind of retiring more into like a teaching role for military personnel, and then he was eventually reactivated to join Rainbow. Now, there's some interesting references there that may be clues to his gadget, and the first is that his expertise lies in blocking access to key locations. That would be something that I was just talking about, so that you can create a scenario where you are essentially shutting down access to a certain side of a room. You know, you can't get into that because he is defending those panels or those wall plates. If it can be placed even with more utility, maybe you can actually put it on a wall. Maybe it doesn't have to just be placed on a floor. Then maybe he can have some kind of aspects to it where it can sort of be placed on a floor above an objective and can fire down on gadgets that are placed on the floor maybe. I mean, we'll have to kind of see how that works, but it sounds like his gadget is specifically designed to deny cracking into that objective from the outside instead of from the inside, as most of the other defensive operators do. Then there's the interesting reference that his style allows him to see through smoke and mirrors, for which he has no patience. This may have a couple of meanings, or it may not even mean anything at all for his gadget. But does this possibly indicate that his camera can see through smoke? So if Glaz tosses out a couple of smoke grenades so he can kind of fire into the objective and, have that advantage, does this gadget allow him to be able to essentially see Glaz through that smoke? Maybe he can even hit him with the turret while he's watching him that way when he's scoped in. This may also allow him to see through, for instance, when Smoke tosses his gas grenade, and that sort of obscures vision too. And then there's that reference to mirrors. Could that be actually something that works with Mira? So when he looks at the black mirrors that Mira places down, that's all he would see. He would see that black. But maybe his camera has a filter on it that allows him to see through it as though it were open, giving him just that little bit more of extra information. That's a possibility. Another reference to smoke and mirrors could actually be that to his partner, Alibi. Now, smoke and mirrors is often a term that is used to magical illusions, and she casts holograms of herself, multiple holograms. So maybe his device ignores those holograms so that he's always aware of which one is the real Alibi. Now, she's a fellow defender, so this doesn't grant him an advantage in being able to attack her because they are on the same team. However, when he's doing callouts, into the objective and he's trying to tell the rest of the team what's going on, that might be a little bit more useful. For instance, if he's trying to give those callouts to Alibi and he sees 3 of them and he's saying, on your left, but he's not sure which one is really the real Alibi, that could be confusing. Maybe his camera just doesn't even bother with that and always will display which one is the real one. So the whole seeing through smoke and mirrors could actually have multiple references here to how his gadget operates. We also know a little bit about what his loadout is going to be according to some leaks and some files that were data mined from the structure of the game. We know that both of the Italian defensive operators are going to have a pair of revolvers. The first is the Rhino D40. This is a very large caliber, hard-hitting revolver. And the other one is going to be the Bailiff 410. This is based off of the real-life Judge 410, which actually uses very, very small shotgun shells in place of the more traditional bullets that a revolver would fire. This means it's going to be pretty much useless for damage at longer ranges. However, at up close ranges, it is going to be very hard hitting and will actually serve a utility role, much like the ITA-12S that both Mira and Jackal use, where it can easily create murder holes in walls and will have more of that sort of secondary slot for utility. For his primary weapons, we know some other things. It seems like he is going to be the first defender to have a primary LMG, the Set Me a Melee, which is a 5.56 caliber light machine gun. Now, I do know that Tachanka also has an LMG on the defensive team. However, that is his gadget. He is tied to it in a fixed location. From what's been leaked and what's been data mined so far, it sounds like Maestro will actually have an LMG as his primary weapon, so he can move around with it. That's going to be huge and create a good, solid anchor for an objective position. Also, we can tell he's obviously going to have a shotgun. He's got that bandolero of shells there hanging off of his chest armor. So he is probably going to be equipped with the AA-12 combat shotgun. This has also been data mined. This is a automatic shotgun. It is either drum fed or magazine fed, depending on how they decide to implement it into the game, which should be interesting because firing on automatic is going to be devastating for a shotgun. Obviously, it will have a much slower rate of fire than an automatic submachine gun, but it's still going to throw out a lot of buckshot very quickly, and it should be interesting to see how they balance that out. Now, the full reveal for these operators is coming this weekend. So on Saturday, May 19th, we are going to get a look. The dev team is going to sit down and do a discussion panel on the operators in the map and sort of break down exactly how they work, what they do, how they interact with each other and their other teammates, as well as a closer look at the map. Then on Sunday, May 20th, we are going to get a closer look at them in actual live gameplay demonstration. So they're going to do a show match using the operators on the new map, and we're going to get a chance to see them in action at that time. Then typically what follows is the next week we'll begin the technical test server session, which will last for about 2 weeks or so. And then we expect to see Operation Parabellum launch on or about June 6th, maybe a day plus or minus of that, but somewhere around June 6th is so far the expected launch date for the season at this time. That has not been officially confirmed by Ubisoft as the launch date. However, they did say in a recent post that they were going to be removing all of the seasonal headgears that came before at the start of a new season. And if you look in the shop, it says that those particular pieces of headgear and uniforms will no longer be available after June 6th. So it sounds like that is approximately the launch date for that new season then. As new information comes out, I will of course be covering it, so make sure that you do like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, be sure to click that notification icon so you get alerted as soon as I make new content available. You can also follow me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.